Welcome back. Video of a police shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana has gone viral. It shows police holding down a black man before shooting him in the chest. Take a look. All right, all that beeping you hear is obviously we're deleting the F-bombs that kept on coming out. An important part to put out to you here is that one of the police guys said if you F and move, you know, God forbid if you F and move. I can't even remember exactly what he said, but it was to that point. And then the other guy said he has an effing gun. All right, so now that being said, after that whole thing, Black Lives Matter was quick to assemble their army of protesters to the streets, shutting down traffic, wanting to turn this into another Baltimore or Ferguson, God forbid. Take a look.
Well, we gonna stand tonight, and we gonna stand tomorrow, and we gonna stand as a community. It ain't gonna happen in our community. I pray y'all play. It ain't gonna happen in our community. I pray y'all play. We need to guide the ball. That's what we want.
President Barack Hussein Obama's Justice Department has already announced it will open up a civil rights investigation into the shooting. But as details come forward about Alton Sterling, the harder it should be to defend him. Witnesses say he had a gun and the police were right to fear for their lives. He also has a long rap sheet. Sterling was a registered sex offender. He was convicted in 2000 of carnal knowledge of a juvenile and spent 4 years in prison. Sterling also had convictions for aggravated battery, criminal damage to property, unauthorized entry and domestic abuse battery, and was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2009 for selling marijuana. Is this who Black Lives Matter wants to hang their hat on? Joining me now is the former police commissioner of New York, Bernard Kerik. Also with us is Barrett Pittner. He's a columnist for the Daily Beast. Gentlemen, before I actually start asking you questions, I want you to listen to one more video. This is the store owner where the black man was outside of, and obviously knows this store owner. Take a listen.
Pulling up his gun while he was on top of him and put it to his chest. The other guy was like on his right side with his leg knee on his like thigh and trying to, you know, grab his right hand.
So he's explaining exactly what it is we saw. What he also explains in another video clip, I'll spare you with it. He says that the guy, the black guy, had a gun only for the last couple of days because friends of his had been attacked doing the same thing he was doing, which was selling CDs on the corner. Bernie, you've seen your share of these sort of incidents. What does this originally look like to you when you see the video?
Well, just by watching the video, you know, there's an obvious arrest. They're attempting to take him into custody. He's resisting. He resisted from the start, from what I saw, unless there's other footage. Even once they got him down on the ground, it's blurred, but he continues to resist. And at some point, somebody yells he has a gun. I don't know if he took it out of his pocket or he attempted to take it out of his pocket. I know the original caller said that he had a gun, or dispatch said he had a gun. So the cops knew when they got there he was probably armed. I don't know if they knew the guy or not, but he's obviously resisting arrest, and they felt their life was in danger. That's what it appears to be.
Barrett, I'm going to go over to you now. I mean, you've seen the same video that Bernie has, that I have, and millions of people at this point have. Do you agree with Bernie's assessment, or do you think this is a case of police taking it too far?
I think you need further investigation into the situation, but frankly, whenever someone gets killed in broad daylight with, a lot of onlookers, I think it warrants an investigation that doesn't focus on demonizing the individual who was killed and discussing how this person may or may not have been a good or a bad person. Like, it warrants further insight and an investigation, and we should objectively look at it and determine if anything wrongful occurred. But I don't think we should jump to conclusions or demonizing any of the people involved right off the bat. But I think we should all be outraged when the officers or the entity that's used to protect American citizens ends up killing someone, and that's just not the goal that we should have. And when it does occur, I think we should be outraged, and then we should examine it.
Bernie, as you know, I'm a part of a family of police officers. Everybody in my family, from one set to everybody's a police officer. You know how much I respect cops. I look at this video and I come away thinking there's a lot of parts to this story that we just can't see in that video. And I've never met a police officer who goes out with the intent of trying to hurt somebody. Cops are there to protect us. Now, with all due respect to Barrett, he says it's not important to take a look at this guy's rap sheet. I disagree with him. And if you do, I want to hear why.
Well, there's a couple issues. First of all, it's definitely going to be investigated from top to bottom. You're going to have the police department's internal affairs investigate. You're going to have the district attorney investigate. You may have the state investigate in some capacity. And you're also going to have the U.S. Justice Department, based on what I've heard so far. You're going to have a series of investigations that look at the incident from beginning to end, and they'll make a determination whether there was wrongful actions by the police or not. That's number one. Number two, if the guy has a violent past, that's definitely, it brings to light his behavior. Not to mention, he has a felony conviction. He shouldn't have had that gun. I don't know. He was armed with a firearm. That in itself is a felony because he was a convicted felon. I don't know why nobody's talking about this.
Barrett says, hey, listen, I don't think we should be bringing up this guy's record. You know and I know that if this guy didn't have a record, they'd be screaming in the streets, they being anybody who believes what Barrett is saying, that, hey, this guy never made a crime in his life. Wouldn't they be saying that? So why can't we be saying, look at all the things that this guy's done wrong?
Well, I mean, look, you're going to have both sides the issue, be outraged in some sense. The reality is his record does count, especially when it involves violence. And according to what the reports are, he had a number of violent incidents in his past, including a felony conviction, which would preclude him from possessing a gun, carrying a weapon.
So, Barrett, here's the issue I have with what it is that you're saying. I do believe, and you hear Bernie explain why he believes, that it is important to bring up this gentleman's past. If his past was squeaky clean, don't you think that everybody would be screaming about how it is that he's a perfect citizen, he's never made a crime before, and he shouldn't be shot?
Yeah, so the issue isn't whether he has a squeaky clean record. It's how does he deserve to die in the street in the way he did? Was there a method in which cops could have rectified or had this discussion that didn't end up with him dying? Like, the African American community is quite concerned where, individuals, whether you want to determine that they're good people, their records, the greatest record, or they're bad people or whatever, that their circumstances end in this violent means, and that creates a level of distrust within the African American community and law enforcement, and this perpetuates this ongoing struggle where cops who are trying to do their job and they don't have a negative intent interact with African Americans that may be in an impoverished community. They might not have the best record. They need someone to they need to have a better rapport with police officers, and then it ends violently, and then it just perpetuates this narrative and this unhealthy relationship. And we need to look into ways to create a better relationship within certain aspects of the African American community and police officers.
Barrett,
that's really what it gets down to.
Barrett, here's my problem. Okay, you're talking about how the African American community has an issue with this stuff. Why isn't Black Lives Matter marching through the streets of Chicago, where blacks are killing blacks? This weekend alone, it was a bloodbath. I mean, there are people. I mean, Chicago looks like Iraq. Why isn't Black Lives Matter trying to make a difference in the black community in Chicago?
Well, frankly, Black Lives Matter has numerous chapters all over the United States, and they work autonomously. So this is the Black Lives Matter and the residents of Baton Rouge who are outraged about this effort, and then it's growing. But the Black Lives Matter movement has definitely done numerous things in Chicago. There's been investigations in Chicago policing practice. Laquan McDonald is one example. So there's numerous instances in Chicago and other parts of the United States when injustices like this happen and black people are killed, and you see it on video evidence, and you question whether this was the right action or the wrong action, and we have investigations, that Black Lives Matter are playing like a significant role in bringing this to the light of day. So I think the accusation that they're not doing anything in Chicago is kind of off base, because there's already an investigation in Chicago Police Department that was spearheaded largely due to protests by Black Lives Matter.
All right, so Barrett, let me ask you this. Let's say, for instance, another video emerges, okay? And we see that this gentleman who's down on the ground, Alton Sterling, was actually reaching for his gun while this was all taking place. Do you still hold the position that this was wrong for those cops to shoot him?
What I'm holding is that, so the only thing I can have an opinion on is what I've seen thus far in the video that's come out. I can't have a hypothetical about it if I see a completely different video, what my opinion's going to be about in the future about a video that may never exist. But right now, from what I'm looking at, it looks like there could have been a better way to rectify this situation that doesn't end in a person getting shot in the parking lot in front of a gas station where he had permission by the owner of the gas station to sell CDs. Like, there seems to be an obvious flaw in the structure, and it could result in that cops who are trying to do the right thing are, more inclined to do something that ends, fatally for African Americans or any other American citizen. So right now, I think what we see right now should definitely raise plenty of concerns. Whether we get more evidence that spears it, takes it in one direction or another is a completely different thing. But we can only talk about what's happening right now. Bernie, this has been one day.
Bernie, weigh in on that. I see you nodding your head. You got 30 seconds.
Dennis, there is a way that this could all have turned out very differently. If that man did not resist arrest and cause those officers to be in that physical confrontation, this would have ended immediately. He would have been in handcuffs and taken to wherever he had to be taken. Once he began to resist arrest, I don't care what the charge is. It doesn't make any difference what the charge is. When they tell him he's under arrest, he has to come. He resisted. It escalated to the point that they felt their life was in danger and had to use physical deadly force. That's what happened.
Barrett, Bernie, I wish I had more time, guys. I thank you both. We're definitely going to have you back because this story is not going away. I appreciate the time for both of you. Don't go away. Dick Morris is next.